apparently there are two versions of this movie on Pluto, and I didn't know that. So when I first started watching the movie, the first 5 minutes were in Spanish because I apparently pulled up the Spanish first.
Soundstripe.
Welcome in another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of packed movie theaters and movie stores, then this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me is one of my co-hosts, Dakota Lowry.
And apparently my dog, too, in the background over here. So
Bubbo's joining us, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we can replace Ernie with him.
There you go.
Hey, he would be energetic, I guess.
And speaking of Ernie, Ferguson is back this week.
Oh my goodness, we got ourselves a natural disaster.
And this week we are doing 1988's Bull Durham sports movie. Ernie, I'll let you kick things off because you picked this. I mean, this. I feel like this is a big movie for you.
It is like my brother and I didn't realize how much we quoted this until I started to rewatch this. I rewatched it, unfortunately, on my phone on a plane out to Texas, and then I rewatched it today on the TV to be able to get it up on the screen instead of seeing it small. To me, it's a fantastic movie. There's quotes left and right. There are parts that leave a lot to be desired, though. But I thought Tim Robbins did a lot better than what I originally thought when I watched this movie, because originally this was a Susan Sarandon, Kevin Costner movie, but to me, Tim Robbins kind of stole the show a little bit as I was watching this. I liked him as the hayseed, just don't have a clue what's going on. I thought he did an excellent job on that, and did good enough to look athletically throwing the ball. And I think they did a good job of describing his screwed up the way he's pitched when they introduced the Fernando Valenzuela example. So go ahead and disagree with me, Suggs, because it's not major league pitching.
Well, no, I mean, look, Charlie Sheen in Major League, it's hard to beat that because he could legitimately throw. Was he pushing 90? I think.
I think it was low. Yeah, he was like 88, something like that.
I mean, Charlie Sheen could legit. So that's unfair. I thought he was fine too, and I think they, and look, they kind of explained it. And some baseball players have that wonky, throwing style. It was very unorthodox and not your. So I think he kind of had that feel too. I think he did fine. I mean, especially considering that the role that he played was written for Anthony Michael Hall specifically. Yeah. And then they were actually going to go with Charlie Sheen after Anthony Michael Hall. Charlie Sheen was already doing a baseball movie, which I assume is Major League.
Yeah. And then no. I think at that time it was 8 men out. Was it
8 men out? Okay. So considering he was the third option, I thought he did a good job. Yeah. Let's because first of all, Bull. This is not what I remembered. So I think I've seen this movie before. I'm not entirely sure. Mm-hmm. I think I had when I was younger, but it wasn't really what I remembered. So, but obviously everybody loves this movie. I mean, it's the highest rated sports movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a 97%. So, I mean, that's obviously a pretty big deal. And as I'm watching it, let's talk about the things that it does very well. And obviously that's Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is absolutely fantastic in this. And his acting, I think, raises the level of the movie to the point where, like, some things I think if it were another actor, it would have just fallen flat. Like the I believe speech that he does with all the things that some of the stuff that he said was kind of stupid, but the fact that it was Kevin Costner doing it made it feel it worked. And I also thought Tim Robbins was fantastic in it as well. I mean, and I love the minor league baseball setting. It's something different, and I thought that they did a good job of showing you kind of what the feel of what a minor league is. And they bring in the Kevin Costner. He's the old guy that's kind of holding on to the dream. It's never really going to make it to the show, but he just loves baseball so much. And then you got the Tim Robbins playing the young guy who's super talented, but is kind of cocky and doesn't want to put in the work and stuff. So, and I feel like those are real things that you get in minor league baseball. So I enjoyed that setting. Here's my problem, though. This movie has one absolutely glaring flaw, and that
I'm gonna strong disagree with you too.
That is Annie. Annie has to be one of the most annoying, insufferable movie characters that and I don't know if it's necessarily just because Susan Sarandon, and I like Susan Sarandon, but I don't know if it was necessarily her portrayal of the character. I don't know if it had been somebody different. Maybe it would have, but oh my goodness. Every scene that she was in, I was just cringing. I hated it. Every scene that she wasn't in, I liked. I really love this movie, but every scene that she was, I mean, she's, a minor league groupie. I feel like that exists in real life, but how could you
see? To me, she's not a minor league groupie.
She's 100% a minor league groupie.
No, Millie is a minor league groupie because a groupie goes after any baseball player. Annie's not. Annie's trying to find the stud, and she's going to and truly. So here it is. The movie is basically one. I'll go back to your minor league. It's a love story to minor league baseball. One, check. Great, agree with that. Costner, yes. Robbins, yes. As far as the character of Annie, her and Crash had the same role, which was make Ebby Calvin LaLouche the best player possible. And the bench coach was the one that was talking about, oh man, he was excited that Nuke was brought in by Annie because she obviously has this rapport with these players to be able to get them to be better. I don't have an issue with that at all because again, it's playing into this baseball mentality, which is Crash versus this just far out new age type of thinking. Again, I didn't have necessarily an issue with it. And I know some other people have talked about, they need to go with different actresses. And I know, and the same one we've listened to, one of them mentioned Julia Roberts. I was thinking, no, you cannot have a younger actress do this. You needed to have a slightly older actress do this because Annie has been doing this for a while. You can't have Julia Roberts in there, and Julia Roberts would have been playing Millie. She wouldn't have been playing Annie, And so to me, that is this love triangle. I think one issue is that people go in and think this is strictly a baseball movie. It's not. I think I told Dakota earlier before this. To me, this is a rom-com with baseball interjected into it. So it's kind of like two different stories. So that's why I don't have a problem with the Annie character. I definitely don't have a problem with the way Susan Sarandon acted it. Dakota.
This is the worst movie for Dakota to try to interject his opinion. It's a baseball movie that me and Ernie have disagreements on. That's like...
No, that's why he's very important. I don't expect him to agree with me on this. I really don't. But I love hearing what Dakota has to say because again, we come into these movies, you and I do. We already have our opinion set, and we may change here or there a little bit or sway here and there. But I like hearing Dakota because Dakota, it's raw. It's right off. It's coming. This is the first time he's seen a lot of things, so that's why I like hearing what Dakota has to say.
Well, let me tell you what. Apparently, there are two versions of this movie on Pluto, and I didn't know that. So when I first started watching the movie, the first 5 minutes were in Spanish because I apparently pulled up the Spanish first. So I was extremely confused, and I was like, you can go to my Google search history and see is Bull Durham or Bull Durham in English. And so I had to go find the right version to watch.
Do you not have Amazon Prime?
It was on. I don't know. When I pulled it up
Prime.
Was it? Yeah, I think.
Yes, that's where I watched it. It was Amazon Prime.
I think it came on Amazon Prime though after you made the pick. because when I looked it up, it was said it was just on Tubi, which is where I watched it.
Okay, I was say. Because you know, I'm going to be watching it for free somewhere, so we do know that.
Yeah, I mean, but I think when you first picked it and I looked it up, it was on Tubi. I think it got added to Prime within the last week.
Yeah, I think it did. I watched it on Pluto.
It wanted the blockbuster bump, is what it wanted.
yeah. But I tell you, the one thing that I noticed about this movie that really kind of stood out to me, it takes baseball, and really you see this in any sport, but it takes the superstitions of baseball and takes them to 100. Between don't mess around when you're on a winning streak, or you got to cut the head off of a live rooster to uncurse the glove or whatever. And it's like that. That's what kind of stood out to me when I was listening to it or watching this movie. Was they take the superstitions of everything and ramp it up to 100. And really, I think that's more or less what Annie was, is that she had become this team's like lucky charm. Does that make sense?
Like guru. I mean, like kind of like guru almost.
Yeah, and it just did. I mean, I didn't really have an issue with it. I didn't really care one way or another, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't really think that much about it.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, well, first off, the movie starts with her little monologue into she's going through.
Oh yeah, about baseball being a religion.
She's going through all of the religions, and she subscribes to the Church of Baseball, and she has that very "I'm smarter than you" kind of talk to her. But you're going to tell me you don't find it weird that she's a 40-something-year-old woman that's going with this minor league baseball team. She says very proudly that everybody. First of all, what she's doing is she picks one player a year. She sleeps with them all season, and then that's her thing. And so she says very proudly that every single person she picks has their best season. Yeah, because she picks the best player on the team every single time. If you're looking at Tim Robbins, I don't know how old Tim Robbins was when he filmed this movie, but you would have to think the character he's playing has to be like 19, 20, because he's a new stud baseball player in minor league. So you're talking about a woman that's 20 years older than him, and she's basically grooming him.
Well, but they also have a switch hitting catcher that averages 20 home runs a game playing single A baseball and not in the major leagues. That ain't happening. If you're a switch hitting catcher and you have averaging over 20 home runs a year, you ain't in the minors. You ain't in Class A ball.
And then my other issue is what is she? And I get that. I'm willing to say, okay, she's trying, in her head, she's trying to help the player be better. But what is she actually doing? First of all, the scene where she writes the little note and hands it to her little ball boy dude, and she gives it to Kevin Costner about his hips, and then it shows her swinging. Did you see her swing after she was trying to correct?
It was better than Wesley Snipes.
Well, yeah, that don't mean it was good. I mean, it was pitiful. It was pathetic, and that's not a scene I want to see. If you're gonna have somebody in the movie talk about, hey, you need to do this with your swing, and then it shows her swinging, and she's like, see how I'm doing it, and it's like pitiful. But I don't like. I mean, this is not a coach. This is some random fan. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. It's just the fact that some random fan is trying to tell the professionals what they should be doing instead of the coaches. I don't like that. But I mean, even still later, the things she does, like trying to get him to wear the garters. I mean, even Kevin Costner's character at one point basically says, like, you're doing nothing. Like, what I'm doing is actually helping him. What you're doing is not really doing anything. He basically tells her that, and that's obviously paraphrasing words that he says, because I can't remember exactly what he tells her, but that's basically what he tells her. So
what she does must work, or else the managers would not allow the ball boys and the bat boys to deliver those messages. Because the very first thing she wrote to Ebby Kevin Lelouch was about his back. He did it, and he started throwing strikes. Now, granted, he did throw 18 strikeouts, 18 walks, hit the PA announcer, hit the bull twice, and hit the radio guy also. So again,
I think the biggest thing though, it wouldn't be as creepy if she wasn't picking out a young kid every single season for her to have sex with all season long.
Well, I think that
That's
one of the
creepy.
things that
That's
I think
weird.
that's one of the things that helps counter that is what I think Robbins may have been 30 at the movie, so they didn't have a teenager playing it. And same thing with Costner; he was in his mid 30s too. So I think that's one of the things. Yes, if we're gonna sit there and look at all this, like all these different types of movies and stuff like this, now, again, I don't think you ever have any problems if it was a young girl and the guy, you'd be going, oh yeah, dude, it's an old woman. You're going, oh, old woman, oh, can't have it. That's part of the misogyny of the nation. But
is it?
But no, it's not. It is creepy. But no. But I think one of the way to counterbalance that in the storytelling is have older looking actors.
Yeah,
because
that's
one
like
issue.
It was so creepy that it was uncomfortable to watch.
Now, if you had Anthony Michael Hall, who this is what 88.
This was 3 years after Breakfast Club, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about he's in early 20s. Now that might start to look a little more creepy. So but it is what it is. But again, I think that's part to me. That's getting lost in the minutia of the movie. Again, the minutia of the movie is the triangle between Nuke, Crash, and Annie. Crash and Annie they're trying to do their jobs of getting Nuke to the majors, but then also them, Crash and Annie, fighting the things that they love. What they lust each other, but she loves the limelight and being able to be in control. He loves baseball. And they're both at the end of the movie, kind of going against that love that they have for those individual things. So again, that is, you have that internal fight that they all have. And, Nuke has the internal fight of himself, just dealing with himself because he's an idiot.
And
internal fight of himself or internal fight of his smarts.
He ain't very smart, that's for sure, in a tubular way.
I will say part of something about Susan Sarandon, I don't know what it is, but just something about, because she doesn't necessarily look like her, but something about her reminds me of my grandmother, who also has like red hair. I don't know what it is. It's something about her. Like I said, she doesn't really look like her, but just something, I don't know, something about it. So seeing Susan Sarandon like doing like putting her leg up there with the garters and just like, obviously like it that weirds me out. It's the same thing. I don't know. I used to get weirded out by Reba. Reba would also remind me of, so something about that red hair. I don't know. It's just, but so I will say that.
Cross out any movie with redhead actress. So but yeah, you're gonna do Days of Thunder, huh?
I think it's just, I think when you, in the back of your head, if you have someone like this that reminds you of your grandmother, you don't want to see her putting her leg on the table trying to seduce a man.
Yeah.
Well, Bull Durham is a 1988 American romantic comedy sports film directed by Ron Shelton. The film stars Kevin Costner as Crash Davis, a veteran catcher from the AAA Richmond Braves, brought in to teach rookie pitcher Ebby Calvin Nuke LaLoosh about the game in preparation for reaching the major leagues. Baseball groupie, Annie Savoy romances Nuke, but finds herself increasingly attracted to Crash. Also featured are Robert Wool and Trey Wilson, as well as the clown prince of baseball, Max Patkin. The film is partly based upon Shelton's experience in minor league baseball and depicts the players and fans of the Durham Bulls, a minor league baseball team in Durham, North Carolina. Bull Durham was released June 15, 1988, and was a commercial success, grossing over $50 million in North America, well above its estimated budget, and was estimated budget of $9 million. Y'all really picked the wrong person to be doing all this talking. I stuttered way too much. I didn't take it. I did it. There's a difference. But it was grossing over $50 million in North America, well above its estimated budget of $9 million. It was also a critical success as well. Sports Illustrated ranked it the #1 greatest sports movie of all time. The Movie Arts Film Journal ranked it #3 on its list of 25 greatest sports movies of all time. In addition, the film was ranked number 55 on Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies. Okay. It is also ranked number 97 on the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Last list, and #1 on Rotten Tomatoes' list of 53 best reviewed sports movies. So obviously, like I said earlier, this is a lot of people like this movie. And even some other people I talked to after I watched it, I asked them how they felt about this movie, and I had some people, basically tell me the same thing. I did have one person tell me that he also found Annie insufferable, but he still loved the movie. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Even though I don't like the character of Annie, the movie is still fantastic, and it's mostly just because of the acting. The acting is just incredible, from Costner and Robbins, and from the other people too.
And Skip and Robert and the assistant manager too, where again, I'm not promoting cussing, but every time the manager walks away from talking to somebody and he's throwing like 5 cuss words in a row under his breath just as he's walking out, just it makes me laugh because I've been in rooms with coaches that are like that. They've talked to somebody and they're just like, these guys are idiots. And then filth, flying, flying, filth, flying, flying, filth, filth, flying, filth as he's walking off. It's one of those things. It's just kind of funny to it. So yeah, I did like those two actors also in it.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good, characters throughout the whole movie. Obviously it's a sports movie, so you have to, what I mean, when you have however many players on a field, you have to include the other characters around them. Uh, but even I can't really think of any of the supporting actors that really stood out other than the. Don't get me wrong, there were a few like funny ones that were just that had their moments, but there wasn't really one that just stood out that was just like, yeah, I really love that guy. Like every time he came home.
Yeah,
I would
the
think
only ones.
the manager and the coach obviously stood out, but
Yeah.
I think that just partly goes to show you that this movie is really a three-person movie. It's Kevin
Yeah.
Costner, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Robbins. I mean, that's what the whole movie goes around. And like Ferg said, whether you like Annie or not, the film is really kind of that triangle love triangle story to it.
Yeah, and that and even when to me the most memorable one. Even Annie, not Annie, Millie has some memorable parts to it also. But again, it's a very little part, and again, this is why I think it's just a movie that has baseball in it because the only true baseball relationship that you see on the team is really between Nuke and Crash.
Mhm.
You see a little bit with Crash and the manager in the before the shower scene, but and then and then the mound scene. But there's really not. It's not like bull. It's not like major leagues where you see the different baseball players interacting with each other and things of that nature. But I, again, the beautiful thing about this to me, again, it is that minor league baseball life
Hmm.
that bus that they took that had no air conditioning. It had little fans in the corners of the seats. It was no air conditioning. Just the ballparks, the money drop for all the kids. Just the feel of that. So that to me, that was kind of a character in itself. Was just minor league baseball in itself.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the best part of the movie. And you take it from me, I'm not a big minor league baseball guy. I've never really been, just never gotten
Hmm.
the love for it. But the part of the reason that I'm that way is, we're our closest minor league team is Huntsville, so that's the Trash Pandas. Used to be the Stars. The Trash Pandas are an affiliate for the Angels. Not only is that not my team, which my team is the Braves, but that team is literally on the other far side of the country. So it just makes it hard for me to want to care about the players that are going to be cycling in and out when they don't. One, when they go pro, they're not going to be playing for my team, but they're also not going to be playing anywhere close by or a team that I would really watch because the Angels are not only in California, but they're suck. They're one of the worst organizations in baseball right now. So that's but at
Hmm.
the same time, I understand minor league baseball is a big deal to a lot of people.
I
It's a
see.
big deal,
I see.
and you see that in this movie.
I love minor league baseball. I guess my mentality for me, I love Major League Baseball. I love baseball, period. But Major League Baseball, I go watch. I'm there to watch the game. Minor League Baseball, I'm there. Just one, it's going to be cheap. Two, I love watching baseball. So and then it's always okay. What about this park? What about this park is unique? What about the fan experience is unique? Just kind of sit there and relax, and then maybe I'll see somebody rehabbing and things of that nature. But I do, but that makes perfect sense to say, why in the world do the California or the Los Angeles Angels or Anaheim Angels, whatever they're called, have a minor league team all the way in Huntsville, Alabama? Because there is no like connection there. But I love minor league baseball. Like even when we're out of town, we may go find a minor league baseball team to go watch just because I like that in the third inning they've got two lazy boys on the third base line, and you get to these two tickets and you draw them out of the stands and you put them in the lazy boy and give them a Domino's pizza, which I've seen before. Just things of that. Winning plane tickets to Orlando from Montgomery. Because you won some contest. And I saw that at the Montgomery Biscuits game. So that's what I like about minor league baseball. It's just a different breed.
Now, forgive me. I understand major, and I understand that they have their minor league teams and stuff like that. The AAA, single A, and double A. Which is the highest tier? Like, which is the one that's about to go? AAA. So this is like
you go majors, you go triple, you go double, you go single. Now at that time. Now you have high single, low single, then you have rookie ball, then you have Dominican League. So so basically these are
and Durham
probably guys that have just gotten drafted, when they're thrown in there. So again, that's another thing that's not realistic about this movie. Nobody's going to go from A ball to roster expansion in Major League Baseball. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think they're doing that.
I feel like I don't want to say it's never happened because with the amount of players you have in baseball, I feel like there's probably one. But yeah, it's very rare.
It is very rare.
Now I know there have been players go from double A up straight to the. But yeah. I would feel like it's extremely rare for a single A to make that jump. But I'm not going to say it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But, all right. So the Durham Bulls, a single A minor league baseball team, are dealing with another sparsely attended losing season with one thing working for them. Eben Calvin LaLouche, a hotshot rookie pitcher known for having $1 million arm but a 5-cent head, who has potential to become a major league talent. Crash Davis, a 12-year veteran in the minor leagues, is sent down from AAA as the team's catcher to teach LaLouche to control his haphazard pitching. Crash immediately begins calling Ebby by the degrading nickname of Meat, and they get off to a rocky start. Thrown into the mix is Annie, a baseball groupie, and lifelong spiritual seeker who has latched onto the Church of Baseball and has every year chosen one player on the Bulls to be her lover and student. That just sounds weird when you're reading it. But, no, okay. But, all right. So we open the movie, as I was saying earlier, we get kind of Annie's little monologue about her religion and her Church of Baseball. And that's probably my favorite part of Annie, even though, again, this is kind of her talking, her, I don't want to say condescending, but, she talks, talks very smart. But it is kind of funny, like hearing her monologue, how she's going through religion and everything. And then ends up in the Church of Baseball, which, again, I feel like is pretty representative of some people in the world.
Yeah, I think that's an easy case of there's a lot of people that worship sports, period. And I agree. I thought this was the best part of Annie too, was the opening scene monologue that was, I thought, pretty good. It made more sense than Crash's monologue. Some of the things that Crash said. Again, just because it was a good introduction. It also was a good introduction just the way Annie thought, period. She is outside the box. She is not the conventional baseball thinker. So I think it helped you, instead of just all of a sudden this character showing up in the middle of the movie, and you're like, okay, this chick is weird. Well, you already know that the chick is weird by the way she's talking about, especially she already mentioned that she liked how the players would hang out with her and listen to her read poetry, which we didn't know what she was talking about until a later scene.
Yeah, like I said, I'll be honest, I was struggling through Spanish and English at this moment.
Okay.
So,
did you just so you just watch the first 5 minutes in Spanish and then like Didn't even go back and rewatch it in English.
No, I did rewatch it. It was a confusing time. Okay, there were two different Bull Durhams on the TV, and I couldn't understand it.
I was about to say Annie's monologue while she's reading Whitman, but in Spanish. That's really Whitman's hard enough to understand. Now you got to have it in Spanish too.
Let me tell you, it is entirely dubbed over, and that's I think when I realized that it wasn't actual because some of the players were talking, and I'm like, that voice does not go with him, and their lips aren't syncing. Okay,
that's Antonio Banderas talking, not Kevin Costner.
I wish he had texted us to ask us if it was in English. We could have just been like, no, it's in Spanish. I would have 100% been like, no, it's in Spanish.
Look, I think I don't talk much in the beginning. I definitely wouldn't have talked then because I wouldn't have understood the movie at all. But no, I mean the monologue was good. Everything, especially I think like Ferg said, it kind of explains her character, and it explains who she is, and she basically comes out and really says that that there's really one thing that I care about, and that's baseball, and that's really it. Even then, like you don't learn that she even has a job until later on in the movie.
That was
when she
weird.
said, yeah, which I guess it's one of those things. Is like trying to remove a plot hole type thing because, like, how can this woman attend every single minor league baseball team? And how can she afford, season tickets to this minor league team? So.
But I did like how they addressed it because Crash asked her, "Do you even have a job?" I like how they did address that.
Yeah, it kind of it made sense. And also kind of played into why she would. I mean, she's a lit professor. What she say?
Yes,
English lit and composition.
Yeah,
part-time.
So, was it the local community college?
Yeah, the community college.
Can't even name the local community college. But
she's a trust fund. She's a trust fund baby. That's what she is.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to be done.
Yeah.
But no, so obviously the best part though is when you get Kevin Costner that comes in, and I love the character. And we go back to how minor league baseball is kind of a character of this movie. You get so much with it, and you in Kevin Costner, in his character Crash, you get the character that. I mean, he's obviously in his 30s. I don't know if they exactly, but he's been doing minor league baseball for like 12 or 13 years. I mean, he just can't let it go. And you see in this movie, he comes in and they kind of tell him what he's been there for. He's there to coach up this young pitcher, and he's like, I quit. And he walks out the door, and you see the manager and the coach there. I mean, they're like, they're not even. I mean, they're just kind of waiting for him to come back because they know he's going to come back because he can't quit baseball. He loves it so much, and I feel like that's a real representation of players that you get in the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. There are some players in the minor leagues that never make it to the show. They never make it to major league, but they still, kind of just squander around in the minors for years because they love that so much. And so seeing that. And Kevin Costner does a beautiful job portraying that character. And then later at the bar, where you get you get the fight scene between him and Lelouch, which is so funny to watch. But you kind of just immediately you see, Lelouch throws that punch, and then he tries to throw the punch. He ends up on the ground. He's like, "Oh, nice punch!" So immediately you get the kind of the master student. Immediately those roles are set. Costner is the teacher and Lelouch is the student.
Yeah, that whole bar setup scene, because you have the differences between the two. First of all, you have Crash in the bar by himself. And he comes over and talk, and he asks if he wants to dance. He says he doesn't dance. Then you pan over, and there's Nuke just going wild on the dance floor, dancing with all different people. And then just coming out and then truly showing the best way that Nuke can play is by not thinking. And that's the first lesson that Crash taught him, was right there at that bar scene. And just him throwing it wild. I mean, everybody was going nuts. They thought that Nuke was going to kill him, and he throws it wild and breaks the window, and you can see the guys behind him go, "Oh." It just, just the air just kind of goes out.
Well, I mean, they've been this whole time though. I think is just establishing their differences. From, from his introduction where he's not warming up for the opening pitch.
He's warming up a different way.
Yeah, to where he's not, he's not warming up, and they can't even find him anywhere. And then even when they walk out, you got 3 minutes. He's like, you know what? That's 3 minutes. That's opportunity right there. And but then when he gets out there onto the field, and everybody's kind of, I don't know, I expected that from him. Like they're like, hey, he's got an arm, but it's a wild pitch. Then you see Annie looking overhead with the radar gun.
Yeah, I love it when he throws it way above, and he's like, "Oh my!" Like he threw it so hard, it wasn't anywhere close to the strike zone, but he threw it so hard that she was like, "Oh, I can work with this."
Yeah. It went over the netting that he threw it so high up there. And I like you said, Dakota, the way Millie was shooting the radar gun, you almost like she was about to tip over. Mm-hmm. So that was a good introduction. Of course, then he hit the bull too on accident this time.
Yeah, and then but you see that, and then you see Kevin Costner's character introduced, where he's this put together, and like I said, I mean, I know we've talked a little bit about the differences between the two in later scenes, but I really think that they kind of started that all the way from the beginning, and I really appreciated it, especially in their introductions. Sorry, excuse me, but in their introductions from the beginning,
Yeah, I also like there again. This is where kind of Millie had times where she just threw in one-liners here or there. When she told the coach, "I'm not some quote piece of tail." Unquote at that point in time, then also describing his way of making love is kind of like his pitching all over the place, and it was just kind of that was kind of humorous because again, she seemed about as smart as Nuke did in this whole entire time.
Well, Annie flirts with both Crash and Ebby and invites them to her house, but Crash walks out saying he's too much of a veteran to try out for anything. But before he leaves, Crash sparks Annie's interest with a memorable speech listing the things he believes in, ending with, "I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last 3 days. Good night." Yeah, so here's where we've talked a lot about Kevin Costner, his character, and his acting, and how it elevates this movie. Here's where you see that full lid. If you look at this speech, and I have it pulled up right here, I'm not going to recite the whole thing, but I have it pulled up. If you look at this speech, it's incredibly stupid with some of the things that are in it, but Costner's delivery of it is so spot on that it just makes it work. And I do not know how many other actors, we do this all the time, Leif, what other actors could have done this role. I do not know what other actor at this time period could have done this speech and made it work like Costner.
I don't know about this time period, but I'll tell you one. That's a very Nick Cage type of speech right there.
Yeah, see, I don't. Yeah, but that feels more of
no, because it's not as intense.
Nick Cage does the speech because he's crazy and wild, and this. What other actor can do this speech and make it sound serious and real, and not as ridiculous as it sounds? Because that's what Costner does.
Well, see, it's not just the speech though; it's before and after also. Because you see him, the way he's just sitting on the couch and he's looking, and he goes, "Well, why do you get to make the rules?" Then he gets up and he's just in disbelief. He goes through his quote, his monologue, and then he leaves. And then as he's leaving, he laughs. I love Costner's little laughs throughout the movie. Just after he does something, he just goes It kind of reminds me. He had the more maniacal laugh in Silverado. But that's the one thing I liked about him is his laugh, that he just kind of had that. And I was like, man, that I like that a lot. The ironic thing is his speech, he talked about outlawing the DH and the turf. Well, turf's slowly going by the wayside, but now we're stuck with the DH, which
thank God.
I'm with Crash. I want to outlaw the DH also.
Yeah, that's
if
just
if you can't play the field, you can't play. And if pitcher's going to stick a ball in somebody's ear, then they need to come up to bat.
That's just a generational thing, and I don't really have an issue with it. But yeah, old people of your generation, Ernie, definitely want to. I do not want to see the pitcher bat. I think that's just boring and a waste of time.
You just want to see home runs and strikeouts. You don't want to see anybody actually have to pitch.
No, I love seeing people have to pitch. I don't want to see the pitcher have to bat though, because they do not work on batting. I do not want to see someone that just picks up a bat and is basically an automatic out up there. I would rather see someone else batting. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the designated hitter, and I'm glad.
See, I want to see Greg Maddux up there up the bat.
Yeah, but we just don't have Greg Maddoxes anymore. And Dakota's
well, it's because the DH has been. We'll go into. We have.
Well, look, it took me
baseball delay. We can have that defense later on.
Yeah, I was about 2 minutes into that conversation before I realized y'all were talking about designated hitters. Okay.
But my point is, we just don't. There are not those pitchers anymore that do that. So I do not want to waste my time watching them. But either way. So
that's the wussification of America, right there. Just kind of like we can't high load block people anymore, like when I did in high school, because people might get hurt because they're sissies. And steroids is illegal. Bad steroids. Who cares if you have roid rage and break out pimples and your are small too? I mean. But we loved it. We loved it whenever Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were cranking home runs. Steroids were okay then. I think you got your quote right there for the opening.
Despite some animosity between them, Annie and Crash work in their own ways to shape Ebby into a big league pitcher. Annie plays mild bondage games, reads poetry to him, gets him to try different mental approaches to pitching, and gives him the nickname Nuke. Crash forces Nuke to learn to not think by letting the catcher make the pitching calls.
Forgive me, isn't that normally what takes place? Is the catcher makes the calls?
Yes.
It depends. Depends on who the catcher is, depends on who the pitcher is, depends on the coach also. Usually, a lot of time, normally, you'll see one of two things happen. Normally, either somebody from the dugout is calling the pitches or the catcher calls the pitches. Or if you have somebody like Greg Maddux, who, I don't know if you've ever seen the TikTok or the reel where he called his own pitch in his own location, basically by when the catcher would throw the ball back to him, how he caught the ball, told the catcher what pitch he was going to pitch next. And it was just, so that's normally how it was. But someone like that, so if you have an old catcher and you have a young pitcher, the young pitcher should just shut up and let the old guy call the game, not shake him off and tell him I'm going to pitch this, I'm going to pitch this, because he hadn't been around long enough. And again, every time he did it, he ended up screwing himself because, well, he was thinking, and that's not what he should do.
Or it also helps that Crash would tell the hitter what was coming.
Yeah, that's what I was about to think. You know, but I mean it's that like reward and consequence type of thing, and I really like the fact that Crash would tell him, hey, here's what the pitch is about to be, like he's about to throw one right down the middle, or he's about to throw the deuce or whatever it was, and I like that because it kind of showed like, hey, like listen to me or you're going to get punished type of thing, and honestly, and I hate to say this, but it's kind of like he was training a dog. If that makes sense, and that's kind of what I was thinking about, and in this time here, that when a dog acts up, like he's like, okay, like sure, do what you want, but like you'll get the repercussions for it. I liked his approach to how he taught him how to listen.
I mean, he was very cerebral anyways. I mean, whenever you go back to his at-bat and he was thinking about what the pitcher was going to do, and he had to step out of the box whenever he was thinking of Annie's name, which led to be one of the cheapest laugh that I had is whenever he stepped out of the box and he called the bat boy over to him, and the bat boy says, "Get a hit, Crash," and he tells him to shut up. I laugh every single time when he just looks at the kid, he just goes, "Shut up." And I was like, oh, that's funny. I like that. I guess dealing with middle school kids, I understand that. I feel that.
Kevin Costner has some great lines in this. My favorite one is strikeouts. I mean, ground balls are fascist. Is that what he says?
No, strikeouts are fascist.
Strikeouts are ground fascist. Balls are more democratic.
Yeah,
that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but it did make me laugh.
Well, that whole that whole entire part had great quotes, period. I want to announce my presence with authority. You want to what? I want to announce my presence with authority. That just, and then whenever the guy hits a home run and he's admiring, he said, "Run, dummy." And then he just kind of laughs after he does that too, which again, I love Costner's laugh after he says stuff. It makes me laugh.
But, going back to Kevin Costner's, at bat where he strikes out or whatever, and he tells the bat boy to shut up, he's playing into what he thinks a major league player should be. Mm-hmm. His goal is to make it, and isn't that what his advice to Nuke was whenever he told him he went to the majors was, hey, you've got to be, what was it, cocky and arrogant or something, but. I know it's towards it. Yeah, and but I mean, you've got to play that arrogant attitude, even if you're not that arrogant guy.
Oh, with fear and arrogance, yeah,
fear and arrogance. So I think at that point, trying to play into what he thinks a major league player should be.
Yeah,
so that he could try to make it.
Yeah.
Well, after sorry. Go ahead.
Because I mean, isn't that what he said to him at the beginning? That he was just like, yeah, I'm not trying to just come in here just to coach another kid, basically, or get cut halfway through the season. Like I want to have a chance to make it.
Yeah, so. Foreshadowing.
After Nuke shakes off his signs, he twice tells the batters what pitch is coming, leading to both players hitting home runs. He also lectures him about the pressure of facing major league hitters who can hit his heat. Crash talks about his life in the major leagues, which he lived for the 21 greatest days of my life, and to which he has tried for years to return. Meanwhile, as Nuke matures, the relationship between Annie and Crash grows until it becomes obvious that the two of them are a more appropriate match. I did love the whole his speech on the bus about the 21 days that the greatest 21 days of his life, and I like that he went into detail about the things that happen in the major leagues that don't happen in the minor leagues. And again, and I love because you see the other players just hanging on to every word because they're trying to achieve that dream, that dream of getting to the show. And again, that just goes back to showing the minor league setting and what a great job it does with that.
Which in this part, it skips two of the best parts of the movie. One, the shower scene, where the manager, where Skip comes up and asks Crash about it. He said, "Scare them, they're kids." And he said, "You got to count to 10, Larry. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi." I mean, he's counting the Mississippis, and then he goes with the whole entire lollygagging. Oh, I can't tell you, I laugh every single time, especially at the very end. He said, "You know what that makes you, Larry? Lollygaggers. Just again, I think it's funny, but then also it goes back to Nuke also listens to the manager too, because in his interview at the end of the movie, he quotes the manager when he starts talking about it's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. So again, everybody was pulling into Nuke, and Nuke was soaking it up too. So that was kind of that was a good callback to me also. And then on the bus was, like you said, was a good scene. But again, prior to that, when he is just singing the wrong words to the song about women getting woolly, Crash grabs the guitar and says, "I hate it when people sing the wrong words." Again, that just goes to the cluelessness of Nuke yet again. And how many times he's told him that he's got a Porsche and you don't also.
Yeah, and then you also kind of see this is where Annie and Crash's relationship starts to grow too. Where you kind of see them start playing, becoming more obvious of a match than what. You can kind of obviously tell that Nuke is just the toy. I mean, for lack of better term or whatever. But I'd ultimately I can't really say anything that y'all haven't already said, honestly.
Well, after a rough start, Nuke becomes a dominant pitcher by midseason, adding to the Bulls' good fortunes. In the end, he is called up to the major leagues. This incites jealous anger in Crash, who is frustrated by Nuke's failure to value the rare talent he has. Nuke leaves, Annie ends their relationship, and Crash overcomes his jealousy enough to leave Nuke with some final words of advice. The Bulls, now having no use for Nuke's mentor, call up a younger catcher and release Crash. Crash presents himself at Annie's house, and the two consummate their attraction with a weekend-long lovemaking session. Crash then leaves Annie's house to seek a further minor league position.
This skipped a whole thing, didn't it?
This skipped a whole bunch of stuff. Yes.
Yeah, it skipped like a whole lot of stuff here.
But we can't always go over every single little detail of a movie.
But I mean, the important parts, like when the dad was there watching him pitch, and that's and all.
Yeah.
I mean, but also the 2-hit shutout too, that he goes in there and he shakes him off again.
But I mean, it also, like, I guess going back to what I was saying about Annie and Crash, that you also get the point here where you don't really, like, he tells Nuke to quit sleeping with her because you can't mess around with a winning streak. Like, I don't know if it's a superstition or whatever it was, but I mean, to me, I kind of took that as like Crash's jealousy almost, and played into that.
No. Okay, so you missed the part then, because it was Annie's decision. Because early on, when they came back from one of the road trips or whatever, Annie's the one that says you need to channel all your sexual attention into your pitching, and so it was her decision to abstain. That's why Crash was mad at her, because she was accusing him of which he probably was sabotaging, but he's also a baseball player, and 100%. If you wear the same underwear inside out and backwards, and we're winning, you better wear those same underwear inside out and backwards. So and like Crash said, Crash calls her out on it because she knows you don't mess with a streak, and she's just mad, like you said, because Nuke's not
missing out.
It's not a full service station right now. And but again, anybody there's no more superstitious people in this world than baseball players. None. And, and she knows that, he knows that, everybody knows that. So whatever Nuke was doing, Nuke needed to keep on doing.
Yeah. Well, and then that leads us to when he does get called up. And again, I love what they do in this scene, because they could have easily made this, Crash, I'm happy for you. I helped you. But no, again, it goes back to the two different types of players you have. You have the superstar young guy with all the talent in the world, and then you have the older guy who wants this dream so badly, and he has all the smarts and everything else, but he doesn't have the natural talent. And so you see that jealousy come out in him, because he's been helping this guy, and now this guy's going to get to live the dream that he wants to live, and he doesn't quite appreciate it as much as he thinks he should. And I love that. Like I said, they could have easily gone with, "Oh, I'm super happy for you," or something like that, but they went with this scene where he's in the bar and he's jealous and he's drunk, and they do the scene where he gets punched out. I loved it. This was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
See, I liked that speech in the bar where he talks about the difference between hitting 250 and 300 from Crash there. I thought that was really kind of poignant type of speech. Was he mad? Was he jealous, or was he mad about Nuke being called up? Was he jealous because Nuke's going to the majors and not him, or was he mad because he knew what was coming for him? Because he gets ejected out of his last game, right? So the next game afterwards, he disagrees strongly with the umpire and says some choice words, and then but I can't remember if that was the dad game or if that was the game after.
No, that was the dad game, because because that was when they snapped a losing streak.
That's that,
right. And that's when he went to Annie's house. That's when Crash and his dad went to Annie's house.
Yeah, he's definitely both jealous and angry, because, like you said, he knows what's coming. He's been doing this long enough, and they told him when he was brought in, "You're here to nurture this young pitcher," and now that young pitcher is not there. So what use do they have of him anymore? So he knows that's coming, but he's also jealous because, again, you got this guy who's going to the majors that he's helped along. And he's not going to get to live that dream, even though he has all the smarts in the world, even though he knows baseball in and out more than anybody else. He knows that he's not going to go to the show because he just doesn't have the natural talent that this guy has, and that can be hard, because I mean, you look at it. I cover high school sports, and obviously, Ernie, you're a coach, so you see this. I mean, you think about all the kids that grow up where they're the best on their little league team, and then they're the best on their junior high team, and the best on their high school team. And so they're always just viewed as being the best. And then they get up into the minor leagues, and now they're just one of many good ones. And so, and not only that, but you can be your whole life thinking you're the best, and then you get up here and you find out you're not only are you not the best, you're not good enough to reach the show, the ultimate end goal that you've worked your whole life for, that's your dream. That can be tough for a lot of people, a tough pill to swallow.
Which kind of leads into Crash's last speech to Nuke, where he tells him you're going to get knocked around. I mean, he said, but still, have fear in it, play with fear and arrogance. He's still, so again, because Crash knows, because Crash saw the limelight and he wasn't able to stay there. And so he did a good job, of really kind of encouraging Nuke to be able to keep on doing that so he can stay there. And that's one thing I like about Crash. I think Crash Davis is one of the best sports characters, that we have out there, because he is flawed. He commands presence on the screen. He commands presence on the field. He can be funny when he wants to. He be serious when he wants to. He is jealous. He is mad. He's upset. He is fighting himself. It's just, to me, Crash Davis is one of the best characters in sports movies.
Yeah, this whole scene right here is where the movie really grabbed my attention. I think I really liked especially when Nuke went to Annie's house there at the end, and I can't remember if he was the one who offered the goodbye or if she was. But before the phone call even happened or even took place, that it still kind of shows, I think, his somewhat childish character, where he's in there trying to, well, hey, we snapped the winning streak, or you know what that means, let's go, but then he gets called up to the majors, and he still even has that kind of childish attitude afterwards, and I think that's one of the really things that I liked about Annie's part in what. And like her role in his growth was that she helped him realize that, hey, like, you're growing up, you're going to the big leagues now. You've got to step up, and it's time to move past this here and go ahead and let go of it.
Yeah, you're not coming back here.
Yeah, and isn't that what she told him, that nobody ever comes back to Durham. Yep. But even then, like the conversation inside of the locker room that he had with him. Just sitting down with him, one-on-one. I'll tell you, the one thing there wasn't a lot that really I didn't really like about this movie, but the whole weekend long.
Oh, that could have been cut.
It was I fast forwarded through a lot of it.
Oh, I did too. It was not. Which, I mean, sex scenes. I mean, they are what they are, but this one was just
when you're dumping over milk.
I was like, yeah, come on.
And then she has to clean it up by herself afterwards, by herself. That's just rude.
Yeah. At least he left her a note, though.
He did, and breakfast.
Yeah. But then doesn't he go on, and it doesn't even talk about his like he set the
he did set the record.
We haven't got there yet, Dakota.
Oh,
we still have one more paragraph left.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
We still have.
I didn't read that far down.
We still have 3 more. We still have 3 more minutes of the movie left.
Yeah.
Nuke is seen one last time being interviewed by the press as a major leaguer, reciting the cliched answers that Crash had taught him earlier. Crash joins another team, the Asheville Tourist, and breaks the minor league record for career home runs. He then retires as a player and returns to Durham, where Annie tells him that she's ready to give up her annual affairs with boys. Crash tells
I don't know why boys is in quotations.
Crash tells her that he is thinking about becoming a manager for a minor league team in Venezuela.
Venezuela.
I was very close to saying Venezuela, but Visalia. The film ends with Annie and Crash dancing in Annie's candlelit room. All right, before we give it to y'all, I have a few things in this that I want to talk about. First off, minor note here. While I'm not a huge fan of minor league baseball, I do love all the the crazy mascots and stuff that you get in minor league baseball. I love the creativeness, and I love the hats and everything. The Asheville Tourists have one of my favorite hats. I don't think it's their. I think they've switched logos, but like it's an old so I think it's their older logo, but it was like a bear and like a Hawaiian shirt or something. You should go. It's one of my favorite minor league hats. That's just
that's not what it's on their Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I think they've changed now. But
I see what you're talking about.
But going back to this, okay, first off, the cliched answers. As a sports journalist, this is my worst nightmare. I hate this so much, getting these cliched answers. And it makes me laugh, though, because I have a coach, and I'm not going to say his name, but Ernie, you obviously know this coach. And he would always make me laugh because he would tell me answers, but then he would be like, don't print that. Like, he would just say like what he was thinking, but he'd like, don't print that. And then he's like, don't worry, I'm going to Bull Durham you. And then he would give me some cliched bull crap. But I love that guy to this day. I still talk to him every time I see him. But the real thing I want to talk about, though, is I love the ending to this because as I was watching this, and again, I didn't really remember a lot about this movie, even though I'm pretty sure I've seen it. But I was really scared that they were going to do something like, oh, Nuke is in the big leagues now. He wants his catcher with him, and then Crash is going to get called up. You know, that kind of happy ending, which I just don't think would have fit this movie. So I was really scared that they were going to do that. So I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad you see Crash go to this other minor league team. He breaks the record, but nobody knows about it because, again, it's a minor league record. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares that you hit the most home runs in minor league. And I love that he doesn't want anybody to know that because, again, he doesn't care because he feels like that's just, you know, it's kind of like being good in, I don't know, church league softball or something almost. I mean, it's just, he goes, he breaks the record. He gets that for him, though. I don't want to say he doesn't care because he obviously does care. He wants to get that record. I shouldn't have said he doesn't care, but he gets that for him. And only him, and I guess Annie, which I mean, I'm sure there's other people that know, but it's not like, you know, I'm glad they didn't make like a big deal about it. Like, oh, Annie called the Sports Illustrated and they did a write-up on it. I'm glad they didn't go that way. And then after he breaks the record, he retires. You know, that's kind of like, you know, I've been doing this. And so he ends up back in Durham thinking about becoming a manager. The ending was I feel like they went a little few ways where, you know, but I liked it overall because, again, as we've talked about several times, it's the minor league life. You know, some people, they don't get that happy ending. And so I liked that it was kind of that real life showing of what it can be like.
It was a true guy ending in the way where, like you said, he got what he wanted to. He didn't need the recognition, but when he came back, he didn't want to talk metaphysics. He didn't want to talk baseball. He just wanted to be, you know. Now, after the movie's over with, Susan Sarandon's character can't just be for like more than 2 to 3 days. So they're going to end up breaking up. But, you know, just that idea of I'm tired. I don't want to hear anything from Walt Whitman. I don't want to hear about metaphysics. I don't want to talk about a curveball, a fastball, laying down bunts. I'm just tired because, again, baseball is truly a grind on your mind and your body, you know. And so, yeah, I do like that ending too. By the way, the record for minor league home runs, 433. Mike Hessman, 443. That's a lot of taters in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
How many people do you think know who Mike Hessman?
None.
Exactly.
You nailed. You hit
minor
the
league baseball.
Yeah. Nobody. No, but nobody knows, and he's not probably touting that either. One thing I did like at the very end when they were, as she was going with her speech, and they had that rain delay in Durham, and you see the two coaches sitting there. Is Larry, the assistant coach? He's reading. Let me see. Mayan wisdom made easy. I'm like, why do people, why do directors or set directors put like weird stuff in there like that? And he's just reading that. I'm like, is that because of like Fernando Venezuela being Mayan or Aztec or whatever and breathing out the wrong eyelid because of the lava lizards from the Galapagos Islands?
And believe in the voodoo. You got to believe the voodoo.
You have to believe it for it to work. That's why it worked for Crash and it didn't work for the other guy that got canned.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say this earlier, and I didn't get it to. You heard it here first, folks. single A minor league teams are just fancy church softball leagues.
No, I did not say that. No, we are not twisting my words in saying that, because even the people that can make single A are super talented players. I mean, the amount of the high level, which it's like that in all sports. I mean, you get to the highest level, only a certain amount of people can do that. But yeah, the amount of people that can make even single A are still incredibly talented baseball players.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's not what I want to be taken away from that. Not going to throw me down that rabbit hole.
Oh, but no, I tell you what I really liked about this.
When I said that, I meant like that would be me trying to if I played church softball, trying to show off my stats in church. Like I hit 20 home runs in church softball.
Well, that's like Ice Cube bragging about getting a triple-double when he's playing a pickup basketball game. Ain't nobody picks up their assists and stat and rebounds when you're playing pickup basketball.
But I tell you what I really liked about the ending of this here is especially the coaches noticing Crash's real talent. It's not necessarily that he's such a good catcher or that he's such a good ball player or anything like that. It's his talent to coach people. Because, I mean, if you really stop and think about who Nuke was at the beginning of this movie, coming in as this young, hot-headed kid who was just happened to be good at baseball, was just like, yeah, I think I could do this as a career. And taking him and turning him into a major league pitcher, I mean, that takes talent. It takes just as much talent to be able to play the game, but it takes just as much talent to be able to coach it as well. And even then, they mentioned that, whenever they were letting him go, that, hey, like, we put in a good word for you as a coach, or to be a manager of this team, and I really like the fact, like I think, like Sugg said, that they didn't really go the whole like, happy ending thing, but I think they kind of made them. They let each player or let each character kind of fully realize who they are and come into fruition in that.
And to me, that's why this is not a baseball movie, because you go by endings of movies. The ending of this movie was the love story between Annie and Crash, and baseball was just a part of it. That's why, yes, it is a sports movie. Yes, it has sports in it, but that's that because you have major leagues. Major leagues ended up on the last on the game and the final plays. This did not. This ended up on them dancing and stuff like that. So that's why I think it leans more towards that. It's more of a romantic comedy than a true baseball movie.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the movie is more about Crash's relationship with baseball and Tim Robbins, Nanush's relationship with baseball, and I think baseball is a pretty big part. And I really don't.
I didn't say it wasn't though.
I just don't I did not. This is not a rom-com feel. I don't get rom-com from this. Maybe because it wasn't really that funny.
Oh my gosh.
But don't you give me that look. Dakota said the exact same thing before the podcast.
I did.
And I gave the same exact expression too.
It's not. I mean, I don't mean the movie was bad. I just don't like. I don't like when I see that it was ranked 55 in Bravo's 100 funniest movies. I'm like,
yeah, I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't get that. I didn't. Don't get me wrong. There was like some kind of like the parts that I kind of chuckled at.
Yeah,
but there wasn't any part that I was just like bent over laughing.
Yeah, I agree. But again, maybe that's just a generational thing. I mean, obviously,
I do think so. I mean, because I'll be interested. Because I don't think that's one thing we haven't done have we done like a true comedy? Not a romantic comedy, but like a true comedy movie yet.
We did Bad Boys.
That's an action movie. That's not a comedy.
Well,
I don't know.
You did Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you want to consider it.
Yeah, I mean, so that should tell you right now that again, true comedies are hard to define anyways, and hard to find.
I start
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop. That's probably the closest. When I start trying to think like of the comedy movies that I've loved and stuff, like I feel like a lot of them I start thinking as far back as the '90s. I can't think of a lot of like true comedy movies that I've just loved that are from the '80s. Not saying that there aren't any, but I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's
But
just, I mean, just because the things that I'm thinking of, it's not, the comedy's not the sole thing. It's not Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy's funny, and it's
oh,
just
okay, yeah,
it is
boy.
no. I'm not saying it's just the first movie that came into my hand, but it is slapstick. It is it is that's the only thing it is truly is it's not anything else other than a comedy.
Oh wait,
It
that's. I was thinking that was closer to like 89, 90. Tell me, boy, I had my years mixed up. It didn't
oh
come
I
out
have
to
no clue
95.
oh, it's 95. I had no clue when it was,
Yeah,
but
I didn't
but
think it
like
was that.
but like stuff like I mean like if we ever do the movie Clue, I think Clue is freaking hilarious. Now again, it may be a generational thing also, but there's just certain movies like Weird Science. I think it's funny too. So again, it's just I think that is a difference that we'll see when we start doing any type of comedy movies is that there will be a generational difference. It's not that there's a huge generation difference between this. uh,
So, says the guy that's the same age as my dad.
that's why my laughing was, and that's why also what my quote was for you. My quote was for your dad too, because that's one of his favorite quotes from this movie was about the natural disaster also. So shout out to Coach Suggs.
All right, so all right, I think we finished wrapping up the movie. Time to move on to rankings. Anything you guys want to add before we do move on to the rankings?
Nope, it
All
was like I
right.
said,
Well,
it's one of my most quotables.
I did the random name generator, and Ernie's name popped out.
Random
So we'll
generator. Well, it
go.
was my movie, so I was figuring I was going first anyways.
I'm just kidding. I did not do a random name generator.
We paper rock scissored it, and this is what happened.
The random name generator was his mind.
Eeny, meeny,
Yeah, the
you.
first name that popped in my head was Ernie. Go figure.
Again, as far as main leads, again, Kevin Costner was awesome. Tim Robbins was awesome. I thought that Susan Sarandon was good. I liked the mixture of the storylines and all that kind of stuff. There were some parts that were just kind of iffy for me. Again, the words that kept on speaking, just like the assistant coach going La Louche, Elle Louche, Elle Louche. That again, I find that kind of just funny little things like that. Kevin Costner's laugh, I thought that was enjoyable too, just the different things. So for me with Bull Durham, I am going with an. Oh, I was going to change my mind as I do this. I'm going with an 8.75.
All right, Dakota.
So, obviously, this isn't really my type of movie. Not saying that I don't like sports movies and things like that. I mean, there are some sports movies that I do enjoy. It's just this wasn't really my speed. This wasn't really the type of movie that I watch. That doesn't mean that I can't appreciate it though. Um, like Ferg said, the acting in this movie was it was there. With the three characters that needed to have it, I think that they had it. That um, even like I wish there had been a little bit more maybe from the supporting characters. I mean, really the only interactions you get are like the whole interaction, which we didn't even talk about the interaction on the mound when they're all in the timeout, coming up, and I wish you had a little bit more of that support, and I feel like that would have brought a little bit more of the comedy into it, as opposed to just the romantic parts of this movie. But I do like the character development. I do like the whole plot of the story. I of the movie. I overall enjoyed it. So I definitely enjoyed this more than Major League. Uh, which don't shake your head at me, Caleb.
I did like a slight shake. It was not even like a. It was not
You're
even
still
that,
shaking your head right now.
It's an involuntary.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I still feel that Annie's a glaring hole in this movie. I don't like the character, and Maybe if it, and not to shaft Susan Sarandon, who I think is a great actress, but maybe if it was a different actress, maybe I'd feel differently. But unfortunately, it's not, and so I feel the way about that character. I also just don't find the movie that funny. But at the same time, that's okay. I don't need it to be that funny. But what it does shine in is the acting with Kevin Costner and Tim Robbins. I think they both do an amazing job, especially Costner, who I absolutely love, and I just don't think he's bad in anything. And I love, as I've said multiple times throughout the podcast, I love the minor league setting. I love just everything about it. Even though I said that I'm not a huge minor league baseball guy, I appreciate everything they did about the movie. And I think I view it differently than Ernie does. I think he views it as the romantic type with him and Sarandon, whereas I view more of it about the relationships between Costner and Robbins and the relationship with baseball that they have. So I enjoy the movie. I think there's good things about it. I think there's not good things about it. I still don't, when I look at it, I don't like when it says it's ranked number one greatest sports movie all time for Sports Illustrated and the highest rated sports movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get that. I think there's way better sports movies than this, but I still think this is a good one. And I was going to give it a 7.75, but I really do think Kevin Costner is absolutely fantastic in this movie. So I am going to give it an 8. So that's an 8.75 from Ernie, an 8 from me, and a 7.5 from Dakota. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So that averages out to 8.08. Ernie, where does that put us on our rankings list?
That ties us with X-Men at 22.
Is that what we did last week?
Yeah.
No,
right.
last
We
week
did
was
X-Men a couple
Dakota's
weeks ago.
bit. What did we do last week? Oh, Tombstone. We did
That's right. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. X-Men was
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. So Bull Durham is tied with X-Men at 22. It is below 10 Things I Hate About You and above Twister and The Lost Boys.
All right. And if you would like to see that full list of rankings, you can go on our website, podpage.com/classic blockbusters. That's podpage.com/classic blockbusters. You can find our full rankings list on there. You can find all our episodes. You can find our About, which tells a little bit about us. And then we also, I think as I was looking on there, it has our individual picks and that we've individually picked each week to show what movies we're picking.
Yeah, that'll be updated hopefully tomorrow or sometime this week. It's a little lagging behind, but it's getting there. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. So you can also find us on Facebook, Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast, or you can also now find us on Twitter, or X, I guess now is what it's called. We now have one of those. You can find us at BlockbusterPod1. So you can find us on there as well. Streaming on Apple Podcast and Spotify. I do want to give a shout out, and we reached over 1,000 downloads across Spotify and Apple Podcasts this past week. So we're really appreciative of that and everybody that's listened. I don't think we expected to reach that many at this point, 38 episodes in. So it may not seem like a lot to people that are listening, but it's definitely a lot to us. So we certainly appreciate everybody that's been listening. And anything else I need to plug?
I think that's it.
All right. So next movie, it's my pick, and of course Ernie, which we don't divulge what movies we pick, but going after Ernie's tough because we both, for whatever reason, always seem to be on the same wavelength. So like if he
that's
picks
scary
stuff,
for you.
So if I have like a cult classic obscure movie in my head, it'll no doubt that'll be when Ernie picks one, and I'm like, oh, do I really want to go 2 in a row? But so I had a sports movie in my head that I was going to do for my next pick that I've had locked in for the past couple weeks, and of course Ernie goes sports movie last week. So I thought about changing that, but I decided not to because I just want to watch this movie. I want to do it for the podcast. So Dakota, I'm sorry, we're going to do 2 sports movies in a row, but we're going to do Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise.
With a redheaded actress in it.
It's not.
Just, I mean, you're the one that brought it up. No, not me.
It's not just redheaded, but just, I don't know, something about Susan Sarandon, which a lot of the things I've seen her in, she's playing like a mom figure in. And the same with Reba. I watched the TV show Reba. She plays a mom, so that's more of like, it's not just the red hair. I say that red hair because my grandmother has red hair, but just some of that, I don't know. But Yes, Nicole Kidman. Which is her hair red in Days of Thunder? I thought it was more blonde.
Yes, this is her early acting career. She was redhead.
Well,
Not that
I
I
can
paid
promise
attention
you when
at
I'm
all.
watching Days of Thunder, which by the way is absolutely a direct sequel to Top Gun. So, but I can promise you,
No, it's just Top Gun on a race car
it is
car.
literally Top Gun. It is basically Top. It's the same. It's Tom Cruise and the same director. And but yes, it's literally just Top Gun on the race cars. But yes, I can promise you that when I'm watching this, I will not be thinking my grandmother Nicole Kidman reminds me of my grandmother. I can assure you of that.
You're wanting to be a sweet and low packet. Is what you will want to be.
It, interesting fact that I think is probably only going to be interesting to me. So you have Top Gun, that was the same director he did Top Gun, and then a few years later he did the racing movie in Days of Thunder. Then you have Top Gun Maverick that came out a few years ago. The same director that did that is doing a racing movie that's coming out this year. So I thought it was interesting that kind of like paralleled. It's only interesting to me probably, but I want to throw that out there.
Which this is very interesting that you have now picked the lowest Rotten Tomato scored movie that we've done.
Days of Thunder is the lowest Rotten Tomato.
Yes, it's
that
right
we've
below.
done.
It's right below. I think Bad Boys is be the next one,
Yeah, well,
which you also picked. Not you have. I mean, you have a type, anyways.
yes,
Yeah.
a lot of my type movies are not Rotten Tomatoes love darlings.
Sports related.
But I guarantee you,
sequels,
I'm
he
willing
wrote.
to go out on a limb and guarantee you that Days of Thunder will not be the lowest rated movie that we've done in our
That
rankings.
is a bet I will
I
not
don't-
take.
Yeah.
I feel very confident. I'm not going to bet my wife like I did a few episodes ago because I got in trouble for that.
I can't imagine why you would
But
get in trouble for that.
I feel very confident that it will not be the lowest rated movie that we've done.
That's a for sure bet right there.
All right, so Days of Thunder, that will be our movie next week. Again, sorry to Dakota, we're doing 2 sports movies in a row for him, but
Yeah, it'll be all right.
I'm sure
I'll get over it.
he'll give us a humdinger for his pick when that comes around.
Shoot.
Why are you giving me
I've
this?
had some decent picks here recently.
No, I said humdinger because that can be viewed as good or bad, and that's exactly what you bring to the table when you pick your movies.
I'll tell you what. After Lost in America, I mean, he's had Con Air, Rocky, and Tombstone. So,
But he didn't even like Con Air.
Yeah, I think it was Bill. I think the issue, and this is, I'm gonna tell you, this is my trope about, or I guess the hill I die on. People know too much about movies going into them, and that movie was overhyped before I got to it. I had so many people tell me, you're going to love this movie. It's such a good movie. You're going to like it. You're really going to like it. And I'm like, okay, I might actually like this movie. And then I go into the movie, and it was okay. It wasn't like out of the park like everybody said it was going to be, and it was overhyped for me.
I was living my best life in it though because you did Con Air, and then I had my pick the week before, and then I can't remember what did I say. Yeah, I had my pick the week before, and then Ernie picked 10 Things I Hate About You, which is one of my favorite romantic comedies. So I was for a few weeks there, and then I had
we went Young
and then I had my
Guns,
pick again.
we went Young Guns, Lost Boys, Con Air, 10 Things I Hate About You, and The Patriot, and Rocky. So I mean, you
and
were
Rocky.
like,
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
let's keep
I bursted
going
the
because then
bubble.
we went Buckaroo Banzai, which I gave the highest score,
yeah.
and then my pick again with X-Men Tombstone. And man, I just had like a streak there, man.
But if I'm thinking correctly, if I remember correctly, I think you tend to pick higher, or you give higher ratings anyways. I think I'll have to
Yes,
go
I
back
do.
and look at that. Except for like the lowest of low, you've also given the lowest ranking too.
Yeah, I'm
which is funny also.
What Dakota picks either the extremely good movies or extremely bad movies. I either give the extremely high ratings or the extremely low ratings.
Because you either absolutely love something or you hate it.
Yes, there is
no
middle ground for you.
I disagree. I think this movie is a perfect example of there being middle ground.
Point made.
But all right, so Days of Thunder, that is next week. Bull Durham this week, it had an 8.08. That brought it to, where did it bring it to again, Ernie?
Tied for 22nd, I believe, with X-Men. Good God. Can't believe Bull Durham's tied with freaking
tied for 22nd.
Oh my gosh. With freaking X-Men.
I guess Ernie will just have to see us at the movies next week.
Nino Brown's going to come and kill me just for this. Oh my goodness.